The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of This Week in the AFL. Alongside my co-host, as always, Eric Watkins, I'm Stephen Err. How are you doing tonight, Eric?
Little disappointed that I no longer have that steak dinner to look forward to, but other than that, I can manage.
That's right, Eric bet me a steak dinner that the Washington Valor would lose every single game for the rest of the season. And on, I believe, Saturday night, they snapped their 10-game losing streak, which shouldn't have ever happened anyway because of the team they had, but they lost 10 in a row. And in what was called a low-scoring affair. It wasn't that low-scoring. I've seen more low-scoring than that. Sean Bragg. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, there's been more low-scoring than that, but this also is 2017, not 1993. So take that for what it is.
That is a good point. But the Valor did win by a final score of, let me check it right here. I do believe I have it with me. I don't. I'd pull it up, though. But the point is, the Valor... 34-30. The Valor snapped a 10-game losing streak, beating the Brigade. And now, things are a little more interesting. Before we'll get to that in a second, I want to get to this first. The Valor's, the final, it was believed to have been said the final play, but it wasn't the final play. Sean Brackett rolls out to his right, and he just chucks the ball into the end zone. Who else is there but the Hall of Famer T.T. Tolliver? His third touchdown of the night with 3 seconds left. Gives the Washington Valor a win. They win the series for the season of the Baltimore Brigade. No, it's not true yet. There's one more game at the end of the year, but they do hold the series lead right now, 2-1. And shockingly, they're still in the playoff race.
Now, we had to go back and forth because, as they were mentioning during the Tampa Bay-Cleveland game, okay, Baltimore wins, they clinch, but they didn't. So Cleveland had to win to clinch. They didn't. But since Baltimore lost, Cleveland still clinched. And the league, I would love with the fact that there's only a couple weeks left in the season. I would love if they came out with playoff scenarios and not leave all of us guessing and breaking out calculators for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I looked at this, and I still don't understand how the Cleveland actually clinched. I want to get to that. I want to get to something else before we get to that. I want to get to how the Valor actually pulled this off. It was defense. Michael Knight, I looked this up on arenafan.com, look at the recap for something else. 8 tackles, 2 interceptions. He came in the clutch big time, and if it weren't for him, the Valor might have lost 11 in a row. Who knows what the Brigade would have done had those 2 drives have not been stalled.
Well, not just the stalling the 2 drives, not just the 2 interceptions. Baltimore had one last play. I've seen Hail Marys go off the net and be for touchdowns.
Right.
Who was there to end that? Michael Knight. His second interception on the last play of the game, that sealed the win.
Oh,
that impressive.
That is impressive. As for those that don't know, I was in Boston for the weekend. I was not able to watch either game. Thankfully, my co-host here, Eric, was able to take over things for the web for InsideTheArena.org, and he was able to catch all the action. So, Michael Knight, like I just said, Michael Knight was the hero. He doesn't make that play in the end zone. Who knows? Maybe Virgin Gray does, and the Brigade win the game. So, like I said, the Valor snapped their 10-game losing streak. Eric no longer gets a steak dinner.
Ruth's Chris, another day.
And the Brigade are not in the playoffs yet, unlike what the league first said. And let's go back to what we were talking about earlier. Somehow, and I looked at the standings yesterday. Baltimore is 4-8, Cleveland's 4-9, and somehow, and this makes no sense to me, the Cleveland Gladiators are the one team in the playoffs right now, not the Brigade. I don't get it.
Because a funky thing, when you have a 3-team tie, And how it plays out, if all three teams end up 4-10, which is still possible with the remaining schedule, it goes to a very funky head-to-head tiebreaker. And in all of those scenarios, Cleveland somehow has the advantage, and Baltimore would be the odd team out.
Incredible. They've been playing so well the whole season. And according to the scenarios, whatever they might be, I mean, there's still 2 weeks left. A lot's going to happen. Baltimore's the team out. Cleveland hasn't played too well. Washington, obviously, has definitely not played too well. And it's going to be Baltimore. That could be the team out of the playoffs in 2017. That's just God.
Well,
I can't wrap my head around that.
This is how the ball bounces, and this goes to this quirk of it being a 5-team league and how they came up with the schedule. Cleveland only has 1 game left. Baltimore has 2. Washington has 2.
Right.
And the fact that they didn't play head-to-head-to-head an equal number of times, some scenarios it adds up to 6, others it adds up to 7. This is where the confusion sets in.
And, this reminds me of, and I hate to do this, but I'm going into the NAL, the National Arena League, which just wrapped up the season. The Sharks beat the Columbus Lions 27-21 in the inaugural championship game. You were telling me about how the Steelhawks didn't have games on their schedule, and the Sharks missed games on their schedule, and that can mess everything up. The NAL, some for god-awful reason, didn't make it count. The AFL's making it count. All this head-to-head and bye weeks and all this other convoluted things. It makes it much more confusing than the NAL situation.
Well, with the NAL, it was a little bit different because you had a couple of teams. There were games canceled because of travel issues and then management issues and not having a home arena. And there was a whole lot in the works. And then the league decided down the road, let's cancel the games. The AFL has learned their lesson from what happened between Las Vegas and New Orleans. So they're like, let's minimize this as much as possible. But in creating what was an 18-week schedule with the 14 games, they traded that wrinkle in for about 3 or 4 different wrinkles. That's where we are.
So before we get into more playoff scenario situations, what have you, I want to talk about this other game, which obviously wasn't very good. Wasn't a close game at all. The Storm just dominated the Gladiators and then was possible. And again, and I did catch this as I was going through my notes and figuring out how to plan for the show this week. I did figure this out. Just like Washington, there was a guy on defense that helped the Storm win this game. Alvin Ray Jackson did even better than Michael Knight. My God, he did so much better than Michael Knight. It's crazy. 2 fumble recoveries, and I believe 2 interceptions on his own. And the Gladiators and the Storm wanted to win 57-27 or something like that.
Yep, it was 57-27, 2 picks, one of them a pick 6.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, between that and one of the fumble recoveries was a kickoff fumble, and he returned that for a touchdown. Seeing that live, it's just like, why are they even trying anymore? It got sad.
I can only imagine. And it's disappointing because the last couple of games, especially the last meet, I think it was last week actually, the Gladiators and Storm met in Cleveland. The Gladiators were the one that were up 34-13 at one point, but Storm didn't go away. They wound up scoring, no time left, but they couldn't get the extra 2-point conversion to tie the game. And that was a 2-point game. And then there was the game back in week 3. Gladiators were up 27-7. Storm came back to win. So I was not expecting this type of game this week against the Storm and the Gladiators at all.
Neither was I. I knew Tampa Bay had the upper hand, mainly because, and this is kind of the double-edged sword, Tampa Bay knows they're the number 2 seed. They know they're going to be hosting one of these teams, either Cleveland, Baltimore, or through some miracle Washington,
right,
in the playoffs. So now it's about we've got this locked up. Let's show these teams what we can do. So whenever we face one of them again for that semifinal, we've got the mental advantage. The last thing they see before the playoffs is a beatdown. This mentality just full force.
Yeah, now they have one game left, and it's not looking good for. I mean, and again, I looked this up. I found this out. This was interesting. Things got so bad for Cleveland. They benched Darvell Nelson for Tanner Morse. I was like, wow, didn't see that coming.
Well, I mean, Arvell, bless his heart, he was not getting it done. I mean, yes, 11 for 19, but 2 interceptions and only 1 touchdown out of that. One. It was just, they couldn't get anything done. They had a slight boost on defense of their own with a big interception, but there was just no offense.
57-27, the Storm beat the Gladiators. They fall to 4-9, but by some miraculous ridiculousness, they are in the playoffs. Now the question is, 2 questions. Who will meet them, like the Brigade or the Valor, and who will get the 3 seed? Lots of questions here, but I want to start with this because we're going commercial free here tonight on This Week in the AFL. I already know Eric's answer. I don't even have to ask him. I already know his answer. Eric, is there any way the Washington Valor overcome a 1-10 start and make playoffs?
No.
So what I say, I didn't even have to ask him.
I mean, kudos, because I do believe it was the Valor who signed Warren Smith Jr. from Lehigh Valley.
That's right.
But too little too late. And how is he going to learn the offense in this amount of time to usurp Sean Brackett? I mean, he's very capable, very talented. He's Arvell Nelson, Chase Carden-like, Shane Carden-like, but he's not going to get enough time to be able to develop. Now, if this move happened, say, 3-4 weeks ago, especially around the time when Meyer announced he's not coming back, he's out for the season, he's retired,
right?
Done. Okay, there's still a few weeks for him to get his feet wet, but now, okay, you're lucky to where maybe he could get enough to be in the playoff game if they get there, but they have to get there first, and it's sad, but maybe this is going to be his home for next season. Spend time hitting the playbook and staying in shape.
I mean, I honestly don't see him leaving the Lehigh Valley organization. I feel like this was a money thing. Like, the season's over. Let me go play somewhere else for a little while. Make some more money.
Gee, where have I seen that before?
Oh, we've seen it in many places. But what I don't understand is that they're going to sign the guy, and Sean Brackett has lost you 10 games in a row. Why are you not going to start him? I mean, even if he loses the game, he might have done something more impressive. Now, let's just start Sean Brackett and see if we can finally get a win. They got the win, but it didn't come as easy as they would have hoped, maybe.
Well, the fact that the win came at all, you always, and this is the adage in football, you start the guys that give you the best chance to win. You bring in Smith, semi off the street, bring him in off the couch. You can't expect him to, in just a matter of a few days' time, get enough of a handle on your playbook, have enough chemistry with the guys, get any semblance of timing down, and throw him out against a very, very hot Brigade team. You can't. They didn't have any other choice but to start Sean Brackett.
All right, well, before we get into this, because now I'm interested in talking about the next game, the Valor and the Brigade, which is actually the second game, but I want to talk about it first. I want to talk about the Valor playoff scenario. They had to beat Cleveland, and then beat the Brigade, and the Valor will clinch a playoff spot. That's it. So pretty much all they need to do is beat Cleveland, and they're in the driver's seat. It's going to be a 3-way race in the last week of the season. And I remember a few weeks ago we were talking about the Storm and the Soul.
Mm-hmm.
They're out of the picture already. It's 1-2. It's done with. Now it's who's getting 3-4. It's going to be very interesting. So I want to say I'm rooting for Washington, but let's look at this. Let's start off our analysis for this game. Looking at this, the way I see it, they start Sean Brackett. Cleveland goes up, I don't know, 3-4 touchdowns, and that's it. You pull Sean Brackett, Warren Smith comes in, and he wins you the game. I would love to see that. I would just absolutely love that.
While it would be great television, while it would be a boost for the league,
yeah,
it's not going to happen. Now, you had me up until the Valor win the game. Do you have any idea now how mad these teams are? And I talked about that going into last week's games. Tampa Bay was mad. Philadelphia decided to sit back and chill. Look what happens when you play a mad team with a lot of talent. You get crushed. While I would say that Smith coming in, maybe late second quarter, just before halftime, flex his muscles a little bit and see what he does in the second half. I'm not saying it wouldn't make things interesting. I'm not saying it wouldn't make things close, because it would. But another win does not happen. Lightning clearly is not going to strike twice.
Well, I do know one thing, and like you said, both these teams are angry. They know. They're hanging by a thread in the playoff race, as well as Baltimore. They're all fighting for that playoff spot. So this is going to be a hard-hitting game between both defenses. Because like last game, the main reason there was, like I remember seeing in a recap from Adam Markowitz of the Arena Football League, a 10-minute scoring drought.
Mm-hmm.
My God.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the Cleveland Gladiators won't get up as much as 4 touchdowns, because maybe the Valor defense will step up once again, like they did against Shane Carden last week. Maybe shut down Arvell Nelson if he starts, and we can have another low-scoring affair. But maybe the Valor do win. I'm just putting that out there.
I'm not saying it's not possible. Clearly it is.
Sure.
And I will say, Arvell Nelson's going to get another start.
Oh, yeah.
He is, because we've seen what Tanner Mars can do, and we've seen what quarterbacks not named Arvell Nelson have done for Cleveland throughout the course of the season. So they're sticking with him, but maybe they get a little bit of extra practice in their timing. Maybe they switch up their routes a little bit, so that way give Nelson either time to get the ball out of his hand really quick, or some sort of extra protection to try to survey the field. They're not going to get both. They understand that with this Valor defense. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of adjustments they make, but I think they can make those adjustments a lot better than the Valor could.
Well, all I know is this is a do-or-die game for both teams, and possibly Baltimore too, because if Baltimore beats Philadelphia, they might all but clinch their playoff spot as well, eliminating Washington. What I don't want to see is, in a do-or-die game such as this, another blowout. Last time the two teams met in D.C. on CBS Sports Network, the Gladiators dominated in every way possible. They won 59-35. I believe the 24-point win stands as the biggest margin of victory this season. I don't want to see that again. I want to see a much closer game.
Yeah, well, and of that 24-point win, up until last Saturday, it was. The Storm took care of business. Well, and oddly enough, it's the first time that the Storm have won by more than 12 all season.
Wow.
And they go and win by 30. I mean, wow. Yes, and they're lucky that this weekend they're getting a bye, because look what's going to go down in 2 weeks' time. That's going to be a very interesting proposition. But for something like this, it's going to be another slugfest. I don't anticipate a blowout, but I hope it's better than 34-30. Games like that, they're liable to put me to sleep.
I think I just realized something. I believe, should Baltimore beat Philadelphia, they'll have 2 losses.
Mm-hmm.
Storm be a 3. And the Soul
Mm-hmm.
Storm meet the following weekend, the final game of the season. Should the Storm win, they'll both have 3 losses. The Storm would have won the season series. We might have a better game next week than we thought.
Well, hate to burst your bubble, but Philly, they've got the season series unfortunately clinched because they.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and it's kind of sad because it would only meet 3 times. I would have loved to have seen a 4th with them, but travel, et cetera, et cetera. But still, imagine both teams going into the playoffs eventually or potentially 11-3. Next week, or with that game, then if they meet in the Arena Bowl 2 weeks later, knowing that, hey, we can get you on your turf, watch out.
Yeah, I am praying that the Soul win their home playoff game because I really want to go back to Jersey for the Arena Bowl. I don't want to have to go to Cleveland. I mean, there's a small, very, 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 very small chance the Arena Bowl goes in Cleveland. No, I want to go to Cleveland. I would love for the Soul to win so I can go back to Jersey. But anyway, skip the bias there. So the Brigade, I think we're going to wrap up the show by talking about the Brigade and the Soul. Last time these 2 teams met, it was in Baltimore, and the Brigade, they started off slow, but they picked it up. And the Soul went down. They often struggled a lot. And the Brigade wound up pulling out the victory. And it was very close. But after seeing what Washington did to Baltimore last week, where the defense shut down Shane Carden for 10 minutes before they scored a touchdown, I'm expecting a much easier win for the Soul.
I completely agree because they have 2 weeks to prepare, and we saw how they were finally able to get off to a fast start against Washington. We can expect the same thing here. Philadelphia, if they win the coin toss, they decide to get the ball, their first possession, it's 7-0. That bolsters the defense. They make a play, maybe another interception from Shane Carden, then it'll easily become 14-0. Little luck on the kickoff, maybe it's 21-0. This is a lot of snowball potential. If I'm the Brigade, I watch carefully. Do they have to play the perfect game? No. But they've got to play a perfect first quarter. No room for error. Then, as the game goes on, you can loosen up a little bit, but the first 15 minutes tantamount to any chance of a Baltimore win.
And the thing for me is Dan Rauterball cannot struggle anymore. He's had a week off to practice his throwing, making sure he doesn't throw over his receivers, underthrow them, all this. He needs to take care of the ball. And if he does, let the defense take care of the rest, because they can get to Shane Carden easily. I believe Bo Bell will return this week. I'm pretty sure he will, after missing in the last game. The defense will win the Soul like they did in Arena Bowl 29. And a lot of games this year, the Soul defense will win them this game at Baltimore. Dan Rauterball has to control the ball better.
I personally think he will. As you said, he has an extra week to practice timing.
Right.
He has an extra week to be with his receivers. I think they're going to look at what worked against the Valor, and they're going to do that again. If they do, and if they can pull it off at that same level of success, like I said, 7, 14, 21-0 in the blink of an eye, put on cruise control from there.
It's going to be a great weekend of arena football. I'm looking very much forward to it. Brigade Soul, 1 p.m. Eastern. It's actually streamed live on Twitter, so we can all watch it. It's not on AFL Now or any of that. And Valor
it's on both, but thankfully Twitter is there to the rescue.
Yes. Very happy I could watch for free this week. And do or die game for both Gladiators and the Valor as they meet at the Verizon Center in Washington, D.C., 7 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS Sports Network. Do you have any closing thoughts on this week's upcoming games, Eric?
They picked the right one for TV. They did it right
true.
this week.
That is true. They picked the right one. I'm glad to see the do or die game on TV. So I think that will do it for us on this short edition of This Week in the AFL. I want to thank Eric for stepping up. He is the real MVP for the week as I went on vacation for my birthday. I want to thank producer Sean Garmer for producing this podcast. He is currently busy producing another podcast. So we're going to just leave it here for Eric Watkins. I'm Stephen Err. We hope you enjoy your Arena Football weekend. And we will see you next week, ladies and gentlemen.
Peace.
All right, so since Sean is doing his own thing, that's pretty much it.
All right. I just messaged him.
Oh, there he is. Okay. Yeah, it was a short show, so next week we'll come back to hardcore.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.